Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to talk about task, process, and the threads. So, what is a task or the process? Process is called a programming execution, right? So, whenever you write a program, that program it will be running under the process, right? So, when for that, operating system will allocate the memory. Yes, and also it will allocate the status register and also other whatever the IO device information is required, that all will be allocated for that process or the programming execution. So what is the structure of a process? So whenever a process or the programming is running, so CPU will allocate a separate memory and also it will allocate the certain set of the registers, that is stack pointer and some of the working registers and status register and the program counter, which will be pointing to a instruction that is executing in a program. And also it will have a separate code memory. In that in the memory will be having a code memory where the code will be stored, and the data memory, the way the data of the program will be stored, right? So it will be inheriting all the properties of the CPU. So you can think it as a virtual processor, right? And at the same time it will be thinking that it is executing so the CPU is executing that program. Okay, so this is a typical example there where you can see there are n number of processes are running on the operating system, right? In that case, how the kernel, the operating system kernel will execute the process, right? So what happens whenever a process they are entered, first they will be put into the job queue, right? So there will be n number of processes that will be stored in the job queue. Later, and they are brought into the ready queue. So in the ready queue, how they are listed here is highest priority will be on the top, second highest priority will be in the second top, and like that the n number of processes they are waiting in the ready queue. At the same time, you have a scheduler. Scheduler, it is again a program or which is taken care by the operating system, which will try to take the process which is having the highest priority. Based on that, the CPU resources or the IO device request will be given. So what the scheduler will do, it will pick up the first process which is having the highest priority, and then it will be given to the CPU for the execution. So when it is executing that process, that time that process may require the certain IO devices. So again, it will go into the IO device queue. Again, there will be n number of processes will be waiting, which are waiting for the IO device. Again, what happens in that case? This device manager or this one, he will give the input for that process, and again those processes which have completed the IO request, they will be put into the ready queue, right? So this cycle will go again after when the processes are put in the ready queue. Again, the scheduler what will do? It will pick up the highest priority, and then whenever the CPU is whenever the CPU is free, that time again that process will allocate the CPU, and then it will complete its task. So this cycle will go on the operating system. So next we will see what is the memory organization of the process. So whenever the process is executing or the program is executing, what happens? There is a separate memory is given. So where the data is stored separately and code is stored separately, and the stack memory where the temporary data is required, that is stored in the separate memory, right? So this is what the memory layout of a process. Next we will see what is a process life cycle. So there will be one question on this: what is a process life cycle, or explain the process states and the state transition with a neat diagram. So basically the process or the program which is in execution, it will be going into a number of states, right? So first the state is created. That means we will try to explain this process life cycle with an example. Suppose if you are written a program to add the two numbers and also print the result on the screen, right? So first you write a program and store it in C, right? And then what happens? So first you create that program. So it is in the created state. Next, what happens? After that you save it, right? For execution, what happens? The CPU, it has to take the data, the program from the memory. So then once it is saved, then it will be brought into the memory. That means it is ready for execution. So it is put in the next state called ready state, right? So when it is ready, then after what you do, you will compile the program. That time it will come into the next state called as a running state. In the running state, what will happen? It will try to execute a program statements one by one, right? So when in the running state, what happens? It will come into the block state. When it will come into the block state, take an example of to add two numbers. So you will be reading the data from the user. So it has to read the data from the keyboard. That time what happens? The process will come into the block state, because that time you have to, unless you have completed the transaction, it will be in the block state. Once the data is read, again it is ready for the execution, right? So once it is ready, again it will be in the running mode. So once the execution is completed, it will go to the next state called as a completed cycle. So basically process goes into 5 states. First one is the created, right? Then it is brought into the memory, that is in the ready state. When it is in execution, it will be in the running state. And whenever it is reading the data from the IO devices, it will be in the block state. Once the IO data transfer has completed, it will come into the ready state. So this cycle will repeat. Once the execution is completed, it is in the completed state. So this is what is called as the process life cycle. So this is what it is shown here, the process states and the state transition, where the program will be going from one state to the another state. That's why it is called a state transition. First it will be in the created state, ready state, running state, block state or the wait state, and the last state is the completed state, right? So next we will discuss about the thread. So what is a thread? A thread is the primitive that can execute the code. So the thread basically, what you can say, suppose you have written a program, okay, where you want to do the all the subtraction, multiplication, addition, everything you want to, you'll be writing one the whole program. In that you want to divide the task. Well, you'll be writing a program, one function for the addition, one function for the subtraction, one function for the multiplication. So in that way, if we can think, so what happens? Those code, the multiplication code, we can think it of running under a one thread, right? So why we are dividing the whole program into the subtask? Our aim is to increase the speed of the execution, and also if a program is done, execution is done by only a single CPU. So whenever the data is read from the keyboard, that time the CPU will be sitting idle. Instead of the whole task, if you try to divide into the subtask, so where you can the subtask, it is run by the thread. It is also known as a lightweight process, right? So here what happens? So that time it will be allocating a separate, it will be sharing the same code memory for the process. Data memory is also shared same for the process. Only the stack memory for each individual thread will be separate. And also certain program counter and the status register will be, each thread will be having separate. That means the thread is nothing but a lightweight process. It will also look like a separate process only, but only the data and the code memory, it is taken from the process, right? So doing this way, what happens, even if the CPU is sitting idle, so what happens, whenever one the process, the sub task it is doing, that time the process, if the CPU is sitting idle, it can shift the, it can do its task. The CPU can be given to the other subtask to do the execution. So this is what the concept, we call it as a multi-threading. The multi-threading means this is a single process which will be having the code memory and the data memory. This all will be shared by the all of these threads, and you will be having a separate stack memory for each thread, right? So doing in this way, what happens, there is a execution speed, and also the CPU is idle, so better utilization of the CPU is done. So this is what the advantages are shown here. The concept of multi-threading is better memory utilization, because the data and memory and the data memory and the code memory, they are shared by the threads. So there is a better memory utilization, and also the single process, a program, it is split into different threads, so that what happens, the CPU can be utilized by other threads of the process, so that this will speed up the execution of the process. And also it is efficient CPU utilization, and CPU is engaged all the time, right? Then we will see what are the thread standards. The thread standards are nothing but there are what are the under the Unix operating system we have a POSIX threads, right? So basically this POSIX 0.4, it will be dealing with the real-time extensions and also with the thread extensions. Like that we have a Java threads also in Java programming, right? And then we will see what are the user and kernel level threads. So if the user thread, suppose the user is creating a process and he is creating a threads, in that the kernel will not come into picture. So he has to take care of the creation of a thread and the dividing the task, right? So here what happens, user level threads do not have kernel or operating system support, and they exist solely in the running process, right? Even if a process contains multiple user level threads, the OS treats it as a single thread, right? And it will not switch the execution among the different threads. So it is a responsibility of the process to schedule each thread as and when required. So here the kernel support is not there, but whereas in the kernel level or the system level threads, they are individual units of execution. Here the kernel will be taking care of the execution of the each threads, and also switching between the thread is also taken care by the kernel. But here in the user level it doesn't happen, so user level kernel will not come into picture, right? So then we will see what are the thread binding models. So what are the models we can have? Many to one, that means a single kernel you can have, in that many user level threads can also be created. And you can have a one-to-one model also, right, where the only a single kernel, and that single kernel is bonded to the single thread. And many to many model, you have a many kernel threads which are bonded to the many user threads, right? So that's there is will be one question on the this, what is the difference between thread and the process, right? So basically thread is a part of the process, and you know that what is a process. Process is a program, whichever a program you write that will be running in execution, that is called as a process. But a process will contain one or more threads, right? And when the thread is created, what is the second difference? You can say that it doesn't have its own data memory and the code memory. It will be sharing the data memory and the stack memory with the same process. Whereas each process, whatever you create, it has got its own code memory, data memory, and the stack memory. And one more, the third difference, you can say that the third cannot live independently. That means it is living within the process, but here the process contain at least one thread, right? So in the there can be multiple threads in the process, in the thread, and the first thread, whatever you create, that is called the main function, and it will be occupying the start of the stack of the memory of the process. And here in the process, threads within a process, they share the code, data, and the heap memory. Each thread holds separate memory area for the stack. And the fifth difference is threads are very inexpensive to create, but here it is taking very expensive to create because operating system overhead is included here. And here context switching is nothing but whenever the tasks are executed, sometimes it has to jump from one task to the other. That time it is very inexpensive and it is fast, whereas in the process it is a complex and it involves a lot of OS overhead, and also the system, it is comparatively slower. And if the thread expires, its stack is reclaimed by the process. But here in the, if the process is died, the resource allocated to it are reclaimed by the OS, and all the associated threads of the process also dies. So there will be one question on this: what is the difference between thread and process? Okay, thank you.